The story of the leopard's bride is one I heard when I was a child, sitting by the fire under the stars in our small village. It was told by the elders, whose words seemed to hold the wisdom of generations. They said this tale was a warning, and as the flames flickered in the night, their voices carried the weight of the lesson it bore. In the village, a young woman named Adjoa once lived. She was the most beautiful woman anyone had ever seen. Her beauty was unmatched, and news of her charm spread far and wide. Men from the village, and even from neighboring villages, admired her from afar, each one hoping they could win her hand in marriage. But Adjoa was proud, too proud. She thought very highly of herself and believed that no one in the village was good enough for her. The first to try his luck was Kwame, a humble farmer. Kwame wasn't a wealthy man, but he was hardworking and known for his kindness. He thought that perhaps his dedication to the land and his honest heart would be enough to win Adjoa's favor. So, one morning, he gathered the best yams from his farm, the biggest and freshest he had harvested, and took them to Adjoa's house. He stood outside her door, his heart pounding in his chest, and called out to her. "Adjoa," he began nervously, "I've come to ask for your hand. I may not be rich, but I'll care for you with all I have. These yams are a gift to show my love for you." Adjoa stepped out of her house and looked Kwame up and down. Her eyes lingered on his bare feet and the dirt under his nails. She wrinkled her nose in disgust and then, with a harsh voice, said, "Kwame, do you think I, the most beautiful woman in the village, would marry a man with dirt on his hands? Look at your worn-out sandals. You have nothing to offer me. Go back to your yams and leave me alone." Kwame's face fell. He had hoped his sincerity would touch her heart, but instead, he left humiliated, the laughter of Adjoa's friends ringing in his ears as he walked away. The yams he had brought as a gift were left abandoned at her doorstep. Not long after, Kofi, the village hunter, heard about Kwame's failed attempt. Kofi was strong and brave, known for bringing back the finest game from the forest. He believed that with his strength and reputation, he could surely win Adjoa's heart. One afternoon, he brought her a freshly caught antelope, its skin glistening in the sunlight. He approached her house confidently, the antelope slung over his shoulder, and knocked on her door. "Adjoa," Kofi said as he laid the antelope at her feet, "this is for you, a token of my love. Marry me, and I will provide for you like no other." Adjoa glanced at the antelope, then at Kofi. Her lips curled into a sneer. "Kofi, you may be strong, but you stink of the forest. I'm not too fond of the smell of wild animals, and I certainly cannot live with a man who spends his days chasing them. Take your antelope and go." Kofi, much like Kwame, left in shame, dragging the antelope behind him as Adjoa and her friends whispered and laughed. It wasn't just Kwame and Kofi. There was Yo, the fisherman, who brought her the finest fish from the river, thinking his skill and dedication would impress her. But Adjoa turned him away, saying she couldn't stand the smell of fish. Then there was Nana, the weaver, who gifted her the most colorful clothes from his loom, hoping that the vibrant patterns would win her heart. But Adjoa scoffed, saying the cloth was too simple for someone as beautiful as her. Each time a suitor came, Adjoa found something wrong with them. One was too poor, another too simple, and another not handsome enough. Her pride grew with each rejection, and soon she believed no man in the village could ever be worthy of her. Her parents began to worry, for in their eyes, Adjoa was letting her pride cloud her judgment. One evening, they sat her down and spoke to her. "Adjoa," her mother began, "you are young and beautiful, but beauty does not last forever. You have turned away good men, honest men who would love and care for you." But Adjoa would not listen. "None of them are good enough for me. I am destined for more. I deserve a man of wealth and status, someone who can make me the envy of all." She believed she was meant for something greater than the humble men of her village. Her words troubled her parents, but they could not change her mind. One evening, as Adjoa was fetching water from the stream, something strange happened. A handsome stranger appeared out of nowhere. He was tall, strong, and wore fine clothes unlike any she had ever seen before. His eyes sparkled with mystery, and his voice was smooth like a flowing river. "Adjoa," he said, "I am a traveler from a faraway land, and I have heard of your beauty. I have come to ask for your hand in marriage. Adjoa's heart raced. This was the man she had been waiting for, a man who looked every bit as fine as she had dreamed, with riches and charm to match. She didn't even hesitate. I will marry you, Adjoa said with a smile, forgetting all the men she had rejected before. The stranger smiled back, and together, they returned to the village. Adjoa introduced him to her parents, who were surprised but agreed to the marriage, not wanting to argue with their daughter's choice. They held a grand ceremony that night, filled with music, dancing, and celebration. The next day, Adjoa and her new husband left the village to live deep in the forest, where he said they would build a life together. The village watched them disappear into the trees, and for weeks, no one heard from Adjoa. Her family grew worried and decided to go and search for her. They followed the path into the forest, walking for hours until they reached a small clearing. There, they found Adjoa sitting alone in front of a small hut, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. Her once beautiful and proud demeanor had faded. When her family rushed to her, they asked what had happened, and where her husband was. Adjoa hesitated, her lips trembling. Then she revealed the terrifying truth. The stranger she had married was not a man at all. Each night, when the moon rose high in the sky, he shed his human form and became a fierce leopard. The fine clothes, the handsome face, it had all been a disguise. In reality, Adjoa had married a leopard, a beast that roamed the forest. Her family was horrified. They helped her escape, bringing her back to the village, where she would be safe. But the damage had been done. Adjoa had let her pride lead her into the arms of a beast, and now she knew the true cost of her arrogance. As the elders finished the story, they looked at us, the younger ones, and said, "Pride blinds us to the truth. Sometimes, what we desire most is not what we need." Though simple, the humble and honest path brings peace and happiness, while the path of pride can lead to regret and sorrow. The lesson was clear: true happiness comes from humility, not beauty or wealth.